Hey, good morning, afternoon, evening to everyone who's watching this. This is going to be a little study, I'm not sure how long, about, I would say, the story or part of the story of Balaam and Balak, and then tolerating or enabling evil and unrighteousness in our everyday life and in society nowadays. I wanted to make this video because it's a pretty common topic and a pretty big thing that we deal with daily, weekly, on our lives as Christians. So I just want to make this video. I'll start out by saying that if you are not religious, if you're not Christian, or if you do not believe that the Bible is the Word of God and that the Bible is truth in all ways, you need to click off the video now because this video probably isn't going to help you. You have to be in that mindset where you respect and acknowledge that the Bible is the Word of God and that it is solid truth. So if you don't believe that, please click off the video now. This is not going to help you. So, I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about the story of Balaam and Balak, okay? So if you did not know about the story, and this whole story actually takes place in the book of Numbers, I would say, in the book of Numbers, from around the chapters of 22 to 25 is the whole story of it. So, but we're really only going to talk about the important part, the most important part, because the whole story is good. We're going to talk about the most important part because I don't have a terrible amount of time, and I will make a big study on it at some point later. But for those of you who aren't aware, the story of Balaam and Balak, okay? Balak was a king. He was the son of Zippor. He was sovereign of the Moabites back at this time in Numbers when this is happening. And the Israelites had basically moved into town, suffice to say. And Balak did not like that the Israelites were in town because they were a mighty people, and he knew about what they had done and that there were many of them. So he wanted to basically get the Israelites out of the land. He wanted to get them out of there. He didn't want them there. So he went and tried to hit up Balaam, who was a soothsayer, you could say a prophet for hire. He was someone that would get paid to basically bless people or curse people. And he also was very blessed because he actually could hear the voice of God. He actually could communicate with God, Elohim, and actually could relay information because of that. But I don't know if I'd say that he was very right with God, but he could hear God talking to him. So basically how the story goes that we might be familiar with is that he talked to God a couple times. God told him not to curse the Israelites because he is blessing them, and so on and so forth. The story ends, or so we think it ends, with basically Balaam telling Balak, I can't curse the Israelites because God's told me not to, and I can't do that. And then Balak was pretty much like, get out of here, go, don't waste my time anymore. You're not going to curse them, so I'm not going to do anything about it. And we might think that that's the end of the story, that Balaam was a righteous man, but we learn that he actually was not, because we learn that he is responsible for casting a stumbling block at the feet of the Israelites, casting a stumbling block into the way of the Israelites to encourage them to sin. So we're going to look at some verses that actually delve into detail on that. So we're going to go to 2 Peter chapter 2 in verse 15. So this part goes, and it says, well, let's go in 14 too. It says, having eyes filled with an adulterous and unable to cease from sin, enticing unstable beings, having a heart trained in greed, children of a curse. Having left the right way, they went astray, having followed the way of Balaam, the son of Beor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. So he loved unrighteousness. He liked what unrighteousness brought him, basically. And back in the story was that Balak actually had tried bribing Balaam with wages, or basically lots of riches or money, to just get him to, hey, just curse the Israelites. Let's get him to just curse them so God will lead them. He was bribed with money. But you would think that he, by the story, did what was right, but he didn't. And this is kind of hinting at that. They followed the way of Balaam, the son of Beor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. They loved what unrighteousness brought them more than righteousness. We're also going to go to Jude chapter 1, verse 11. It says, woe to them, because they have gone in the way of Cain, and gave themselves to the delusion of Balaam for a reward, and perished in the rebellion of Korah. So they gave themselves to Balaam's delusion. We're going to go to another one, Revelations 2:14. And this one goes, actually, we'll start in 13 too. This is a good one. It says, I know your works and where you dwell, where the throne of Satan is, and you hold fast to my name, and did not deny the belief in me, even in the days in which Antipas was my trustworthy witness, who was killed near you, where Satan dwells. But I hold a few matters against you, because you have there those who adhere to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat food offered to idols and to commit whoring. So, if you haven't heard this verse before, if you didn't know about all this, you might be thinking, "Oh, like what? Like, where's this coming from?" I thought Balaam was righteous and basically stood up for what was right. He wasn't. He, in the end of the story, he eventually did tell Balak. He was like, "Hey," he's like, "Tell you what, I can't curse the Israelites directly. I'm not going to curse them and get their God to lead them. But if you were to curse the Israelites, if you were to get them to sin, this is what you would do." And he told Balak to encourage the Israelites to sin in ways of eating food offered to idols and to commit whoring. So he, Balaam, because of his wages, because of what he wanted, which was unrighteousness, or the wages for unrighteousness, he encouraged Balak to put that stumbling block. He gave Balak the key to put that stumbling block at the feet of the Israelites to commit sin. So he cast a stumbling block before the feet of the Israelites. So now I'm going to go back to Numbers, back to the story, and we're going to go and read in chapter 24, or 25, my bad. We're going to read this part, okay? "And Israel dwelt in Shittim, and the people began to whore with the daughters of Moab." So the daughters of Moab, basically, Balak sent the daughters of the Moabites down to whore with the Israelites, to lead them astray. "And they invited the people to the slaughterings of their mighty ones, and the people ate and bowed down to their mighty ones. Thus Israel was joined to Baal Peor, and the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel. And Yahweh said to Moshe," who is Moses, "Take all the leaders of the people and hang them up before Yahweh, before the sun, so that the burning displeasure of Yahweh turns away from Israel." And Moshe said to the judges of Israel, "Each one of you kill his men who were joined to Baal Peor." And see, one of the children of Israel came and brought to his brothers a Midianite woman before the eyes of Moshe and before the eyes of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping at the door of the tent of appointment. And when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a spear in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. Thus the plague among the children of Israel came to a stop. So we got to back up, and I got to elaborate to you if you're not sure what's going on in the story, okay? So when it says in verse 6 that one of the children of Israel, so an Israelite, brought to his brothers a Midianite woman before the eyes of all the congregation of the children of Israel at the door of the tent of appointment, he brought the woman into the midst of everyone and started having sex with her. He started whoring with her right in the midst of the camp, right where basically Moses could see and all the congregation of the children of Israel could see, and he had his way with her. He started whoring with her. The sexual immorality and the sexual sin was so bad that you had people doing this. And so Phinehas basically got up, he got a spear, he went after them into the tent, and he basically stabbed the man and the woman right through. He stabbed them right through themselves, and he basically put an end to it. And it says, "Thus the plague among the children of Israel came to a stop. Those who died in the plague were 24,000. We'll continue on. "And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath from the children of Israel, because he was ardent with my ardor in their midst, so that I did not consume the children of Israel in my ardor. Therefore say, See, I am giving him my covenant of peace, and it shall be to him and to his seed, and after him, a covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was ardent for his Elohim, and made atonement for the children of Israel." So basically, that was him saying, Phinehas has turned back my wrath from the children of Israel, the Israelites, because he was so consumed basically like by the anger and he had enough basically. He was like, I can't tolerate this anymore. This is wrong. And he went after and he stabbed him right through and he put an end to that. And notice that it says, after he stabbed the woman and the man, thus the plague among the children of Israel came to a stop, and those who died in the plague were 24,000. This plague was sent upon the Israelites because of their sinful generation and their sinful nation, because they turned from God and they were committing sin. And this sin that they were committing was cast at their feet by Balaam, because he loved the wages of unrighteousness more. He put that block at their feet and he encouraged them to sin. So this is a good story. This is a good little thing telling us, hey, it got really bad. The Israelites were whoring around and doing lots of sexual sin and basically eating food offered to idols, to the point where Elohim was not happy. He was furious with them. They were whoring and doing all this bad stuff, and they were not walking in the way that they should have been walking. And he cursed them because of that. And he basically had told Moses, take all the leaders and hang them up in front of me, because I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. And then that's what they were going to do. But then basically right as they were doing that, a guy once again brought a woman, had sex with her. Phineas put an end to it, put a spear right through him. He didn't tolerate the evil, and he stood up for what was right. And because of that, Yahweh was happy for him. Yahweh was happy that he did that. So we're going to go to some more verses that kind of talk about tolerating evil and not tolerating evil and so on and so forth, because what I like to take from this story is that you cannot tolerate evil, okay? You cannot abide by it. You cannot tolerate it. You cannot be like, oh, it's not a big deal. I can't do anything about it, because the way that this works is tolerance leads to acceptance, leads to embracing it, and in some ways even pushing it. And my friend, as a Christian, that is a slippery slope. You do not want to do that. You do not in any way tolerate or encourage or go along with evil things like that. No matter who it is, no matter if it's society or your friend or your family or your husband or your wife or your coworkers and telling you this, you do not go along with evil under any circumstances, no matter what you will lose by going and standing up for what is right. So we're going to read in Romans 14, 13 through 23. It says, or actually start in 12. Each one of us, therefore, shall give account of himself to Elohim. Therefore, let us not judge one another any longer, but rather judge this, not to put an obstacle or a stumbling block in our brother's way. I know and am persuaded in the Master, Yeshua, that none at all is common of itself. But to him who regards whatever to be common, to him it is common. And if your brother is grieved because of your food, you are no longer walking in love. Do not by your food ruin the one for whom Messiah died. Do not then allow your good to be spoken of as evil. For the reign of Elohim is not eating and drinking, but righteousness and peace and joy in the set-apart spirit. For he who is serving Messiah in these matters is well-pleasing to Elohim and approved by men. So then, let us pursue the matters of peace and the matters for building up one another. So this part basically tells us don't put an obstacle or a stumbling block in your brother or sister's way. Don't encourage them to sin. Don't encourage them in a sinful lifestyle in any way, because that's what Balaam did. And look where it got him, and look where it got the Israelites. Because he put that block in them, he led a whole generation, a whole nation of Israelites astray and separated them from God. So you cannot stand up for evil, and you cannot tolerate it. And most of all, don't put a stumbling block at the feet of your brothers and sisters, because you will be held accountable for that. I guarantee you, because later on in the story, Balaam died by the sword because of what he had did, because he cast a stumbling block at the feet of the Israelites. So now we're going to go to 1 Corinthians 15:33. Let's see. All right. And this verse says, do not be led astray. Evil company corrupts good habits. It's a good saying. It's a good saying. It's good advice. Evil company always corrupts good habits. And this is a lesson in and of itself. Don't hang around people who are bad company, because that bad company will corrupt your good morals. Now, it's different. It's a little different if you are really strong in your morals and you're only hanging around someone to hope to try to change them and lead them to Christ, obviously. But, like, for example, if I'm someone who's dealing with a porn addiction, which I am. In real life, I'm dealing with a porn addiction. If I'm someone who's dealing with a porn addiction and I'm trying to be better, but I'm hanging around someone who also has a porn addiction but isn't trying to be better, that's probably not the best company to keep, because I'm hanging out with someone who has no desire to be better, and they're going to lead me down because of it. There's nothing wrong with not putting yourself in that situation. Do what's best for yourself, and don't hang around people who are going to bring you down, who aren't trying to be better. Now we're also going to go to Proverbs 22:24. Let's see. It's in here somewhere. All right, almost there. Proverbs 22:24. And that says, make no friendship with one given to wrath, and do not go with a man of rage, lest you learn his ways and find yourself ensnared. Another really good passage. Don't make friends with someone given to wrath or anger or pretty much any negative thing, and don't go with the man of rage, or you will learn his ways, and you will find yourself ensnared. And I have family and friends who are going along with people, hanging out with people that they should not be hanging out with, and I see them going astray, and it breaks my heart because they shouldn't be hanging out with people like that, and it's really sad to watch that happen. We're going to go to a few more places, okay? Now I'm going to break down my breakdown of this and what it means, okay? So Matthew 15:18 through 19. For what comes out of the mouth comes from the heart, and these defile the man. For out of the heart come forth wicked reasonings, murders, adulteries, whorings, thefts, false witnessings, slanders. That's basically all that bad stuff comes out of the heart. That's all bad, okay? Don't have wicked reasoning. Don't reason with wickedness. Again, tolerating evil. Don't murder. Don't commit adultery. Lots of ways you can commit adultery. Don't whore around. Any sexual sin, whoring around. Don't steal. Don't be a false witness. Don't slander. Okay? Now we're going to go to 1 Timothy 5:22. Need to sing that song to remember where they're at. 1 and 2 Timothy. Let me see. 1 Timothy 5:22. It's right around here. Let me see. There we go. Okay. 1 Timothy 5:22. This says, do not lay hands on anyone hastily, nor share in sins of others. Keep yourself clean. Another important one. Don't lay hands on anyone hastily, obviously, for multiple reasons. Do not share in sins of others. Don't be with people who encourage you to sin. Don't be around a congregation or friends or family that encourage you to sin. And if they do, you need to leave that friend and that family member. I'm sorry. You can try to help them for a little bit, but if they ultimately don't want help and they don't want to change, you can't subject yourself to that. Remember, even Yeshua himself has said, you're going to lose friends and family. You're going to lose a lot in this world, but those who love friends and family more than me has hated me or has loved me less, basically. You're going to lose a lot, but as a Christian, you have to realize that, and you have to realize that you're going to lose friends and family. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You have to be ready for that. If you're not ready for that and ready to lose that, then you're not ready yet. Not in the right place. All right, 2 more places. We're going to go to Romans 6, chapter 6, 1 through 2, which says, what then shall we say? Shall we continue in sin to let favor increase? Let it not be. How shall we who died to sin still live in it? So straightforward, okay? Don't continue in sin. Whether that's a sin that you're directly dealing with, or a sin that you are encouraging others to deal with, or sharing in someone else's sin, encouraging them in their sin, encouraging them in their delusion, their mental illness, their spirit, whatever. Just don't deal with sin. A final one, 1 John 3:9, which says, everyone having been born of Elohim does not sin, because his seed stays in him and he is powerless to sin, because he has been born of Elohim. So, these are a whole bunch of verses that for me, and hopefully for you, because we should be reading the same Bible and getting the same verses from this is telling me, don't sin, okay? And don't share in the sins of others, and don't encourage others to sin, obviously. If you encourage others to sin or put a stumbling block at the feet of others, that is going to cause them to sin or encourage them in their sinful behavior in any way, that is wrong. You will be held accountable. You are sharing in that sin. You're sharing in that sinful nature and that sinful desire, and you will be held accountable. Look where that got Balaam and the Israelites. Balaam caved to unrighteousness and what unrighteousness could give him, and he gave Balak the stumbling block for the Israelites. And the Israelites truly became sinful. They were whoring and eating food offered to idols, and because a stumbling block was put in front of them. So most of all, recognize sin. Do not ever encourage someone to sin or encourage them in a lifestyle of sin, okay? Because like I said, and you also cannot tolerate sin, because remember in this story, it got to the point where it was so bad where an Israelite man went and got a woman and started having sex with her right in the midst of everyone, in the tent of appointment, nonetheless. They were that bad off where they did that right in the middle of everyone. And Phineas was like, I had enough. I can't deal with this. And he took a spear and he put it right through them and killed them. And then right when he did that, the plague that the Lord had sent had stopped. And Yeshua, Elohim, Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Yahweh, was pleased with them. And he said, blessed are you, basically. You did what was right. You stood up for righteousness. You stood up against evil. And I recognize you for it. And I'm proud of you for that. And can we not apply that to ourselves too? Isn't Yeshua Messiah going to be proud of us or happy for us when we stand up against evil and we stand up for righteousness, no matter what we will lose in the process, or no matter what friends or family will lose, or what society thinks about us? Because remember, guys, you're not here to make the world like you. You're not here to keep all your friends and family around you, taking care of you, and like, oh yeah, he's a great guy, I love him. You're not here to get the world to like you. You are here to live for Elohim and Elohim only. And that means you stay in covenant with him. And staying in covenant with him means that you stand up against any and all sin and you do not tolerate it in any way. Because if you tolerate it, you'll be held accountable. And that leads me into this point, okay? I'm going to start out by saying I'm not perfect, okay? I have my problems. I definitely do. One of which is I've been dealing with the porn addiction for a long time. By the grace of Elohim, I am trying to get through it. I'm dealing with it the best that I can, okay? And he sees that. And the best you can do is try, okay? But here's the thing, okay? Like I said earlier, if I'm a porn addict and I'm trying to be better, okay? I'm not going to go hang out with porn addicts who have no desire to be better or who don't view it as sin and who are fine with it, because that's bad company, corrupting good morals, and the Bible speaks about that. Now, if I'm a porn addict who's trying to get help and I go hang out with ex-porn addicts who are hopefully Christian too, or also recovering porn addicts, then that's not terrible, because then I have a group who's trying to actively grow towards righteousness and grow towards the right thing. Or I can ask someone like, hey, how did you do it? How did you get out of this sin? They're like, I did this. And that's good, you know? And likewise, you know, but you don't go deal with someone. You don't go hang out with someone and humor someone who is dealing with a sinful lifestyle, and they do it on purpose. They have no desire to change, okay? And like I said, you don't want to cuss a stumbling block, okay? If you have someone who is an alcoholic and who might even beat his wife or, you know, beat his kids or something like that, you're not going to encourage them in their sin. You're not going to encourage them, yeah, drink more beer, keep hitting the bottle, hitting the bottle, you're doing this right. Because that's casting that stumbling block. You're encouraging that sin, and you can't do that because that's not what's right. You need to tell them lovingly, hey, this is not right for you. You should not be doing this. You need to be better about this, you know? And if they hate you for telling them that, then I'm sorry. Like, a lot of people don't want to hear that. So many people don't want to hear the truth and don't want to hear what they need to do, but it's what you need to do. And your sinful, prideful heart don't want to hear what you should be doing, but you need to hear it. If you don't silence your heart, and if you don't put your heart down below Yeshua's commands, you're not going to get anywhere. That's one of the biggest things that's been for me, is realizing that, look, listen, it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what the world wants. It doesn't matter what your friends and family wants, because we humans are stupid. And we think we know what's best all the time, no matter what. But we don't. Our hearts will deceive us. You can be like, oh, my heart felt this. Your heart's going to deceive you. You cannot go off your emotions alone or your heart alone, because you will be led astray. And you are not going to be following righteousness. You have to put your heart aside, put what your flesh wants aside. Read the book. Read this. All of it. Read the Torah, read the New Testament, read all of it, because that's going to get you living a righteous life. Nothing that you think in your mind or your heart, that without reading the Bible, or even with reading the Bible, nothing in your mind or heart is going to help. Stop letting your emotions rule you and lead you, because that will get you to a place you don't want to go. Okay? So I was going to say, okay, this leads into a lot of stuff with society, okay? Society's going downhill, I get that, okay? Society's getting worse and worse, and I believe it started when they took the 10 Commandments off the walls in public schools, okay? But here's the thing, okay? Society's getting worse. I don't deny that, okay? But that doesn't mean we don't stand up for righteousness, okay? That doesn't mean we don't stand up for what's right, even though society may be getting worse, okay? Because we can't stand up for evil, okay? So that's why, like I said, a big thing that people get mad at me and hate me for is because I don't support transgenderism. Because as a Christian, I know transgenderism is a sin in so many ways. But first and foremost, Elohim does not make mistake. Elohim does not make any mistake. He is perfect. He has created you exactly how you wanted you to be. If he meant for you to be a man, you'd be a man. If he meant for you to be a woman, you'd be a woman. He does not make mistakes, and he is not a torturing, unkind God who would create you as the opposite sex of what he intended and laugh at you in your misery. That is not what Yeshua Messiah does or what he stands for. So I'm sorry, but if you're transgender and you're like, oh, I'm the opposite sex, no, you're not. No, you're not. That is a mental illness in your mind that is controlling you, that is getting to infiltrate more and more of you every day, and you need help. You need help. And help means reading your Bible, praying to Yeshua Messiah, please help me. I want to be healed of this mental illness and this sinful spirit that is urging me to do this. What is wrong? And it means you get therapy, you get help, you surround yourself with a loving and supportive friends group who, might I add, does not encourage you in your want to get surgery or genetically mutilate your body or to get hormone blockers. That's not a supportive friends group, because that friends group is telling you what you want to hear, and they are encouraging you in your sin and your delusion, and they will be held accountable for doing that. A supportive, respectful friends group will realize what God intended you to be and who he intended you to be, and they will tell you, look, honey, I love you, I'm here for you, but this is not the way. You got to do what's right. This is not what Yeshua Messiah has for you. I'm here for you, and you are loved, and you are beautiful, but this is not what is right for you. You need to do what's right. And if that means that they hate you because of it, or, again, the mental illness is going to tell you, no, they're wrong, you need to do this, you need to do this surgery, get these hormone blockers, you're a girl. No, I'm sorry that feels like that, but that is wrong. That is wrong. That spirit is guiding you towards a path that's going to get you not to a healthy lifestyle, not to where you're happy, but where you're going to be unhappy. You're going to have a mutilated body. You're going to not be able to have kids. You're going to have lasting damage, and you will probably kill yourself too. You will be driven closer to a suicide rate, and that is not what I wish for anyone, my friends, my family, or a stranger on the street. It is not transphobic, and it is not hurtful for me to stand up for truth and tell you, look, honey, you're hurting yourself. You can't do this. I don't hate trans people. I love them. They need care and support and a loving friends group. They don't deserve to be ostracized and basically told you're going to burn in hell for what you're doing, or to be kicked and beat up. They don't deserve that, okay? But at the same time, I can't tolerate that sin. I'm not going to tolerate you in that sin. I'm not going to tell you you know what's best, because you don't know what's best. Just like you're not going to encourage any sin. You're not going to encourage someone who's hooking up or having premarital sex, or someone who's watching porn, or someone who has an alcohol addiction, or someone who's going out and murdering people, because that is sin. You do not encourage or tolerate sin in any regard. And if you do, you'll be held accountable for it. Even if the whole world hates you for standing up for righteousness and they disown you and you are alone, Yeshua is pleased with you because you stood up for righteousness. But if the world comes to you and you tell them what they want to hear, and you tell them, yeah, go do this, go hoe around, go watch porn, go drink alcohol, go do your transgender stuff, and the world loves you and supports you, the world may love you and support you, but guess who's not happy with you? The one you should be living for, Yeshua Messiah above, and you'll be held accountable for that. I'm just laying it down here. You can get mad at me all you want, okay? So that's why people are like, oh, why would you vote against, anti-transgender laws, or anti, this, that, and that, or anti, why would you vote to ban porn? Why would you vote to ban transgender people from going in restrooms and stuff like that? Why would you, vote to ban alcohol, so on and so forth, Like, look, this is where it gets nitty gritty, okay? This is where it gets kind of hard, okay? Is that, yeah, you're right. I can't control everyone's lives and stuff like that. But the point is, okay, if you have this, okay, if you have an option to ban porn, like if you're like voting in an election and one person is gonna ban porn, and one person is gonna vote to keep porn legal and stuff like that, as a Christian, which one are you gonna vote for? Because voting for the one who is gonna ban porn when porn is sinful, as a whole for the nation, that is better. Because remember, if you want to be a godly nation, if you want God's blessing on the nation, you have to live godly. You have to live righteously. And if you are in a nation that's not living righteously, your nation is not going to be blessed as a whole. That's how it goes. It's how it's always gone. You can look back in the Old Testament for that. It's straightforward, okay? Why would you as a Christian vote for the candidate who's not going to ban porn, or the candidate who's going to keep porn legal and stuff like that? Because they are keeping something sinful around. They're encouraging porn. They are keeping that sinful object, that sinful lifestyle around when they shouldn't be. And as a Christian, if you vote for a candidate who does that, whether you like it or not, you are directly or indirectly supporting a sinful lifestyle. You can't do that. It's the same thing as, like I said, if I have a candidate who's going to vote to ban transgender treatment, like turning kids transgender, who's going to make it so, like, no, transgender, you go in the bathroom as the sex you were born as. You don't go in the bathroom as the sex you wish you were going to be. Because, again, that is encouraging a mental illness / delusion / sin. And as a Christian, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. You're going to be like, no, it's just respecting them. They deserve to do what they want to do. It's not my life, blah, blah, blah. If you respected them and loved them as a person, you would put them on the right path and help them get free from their mental illness and delusion, not encourage them in it. As a Christian, you can't do that. So if I have a choice, of course I'm going to vote for the candidate that's going to make it so that transgenders, can't go in bathrooms that they want to go in, or so on and so forth. Because like I said, the whole transgenderism movement is evil. It's sinful. It's delusion. And like I said, I'm not biased, okay? I think I stand up against all sin, okay? I stand up against porn, alcohol, murder, adultery, hoeing around, transgenderism. I'm not biased against any particular one. The reason why I speak out against transgenderism so much is because more than any of these sins, this is a huge one that's getting pushed on everyone, pushed on adults, pushed on kids, pushed on teenagers, pushed on society. So that's why I'm speaking out against it so much, is because this is the big one. This is the big fight. And if I have to be on one side of this fight, I'm going to be on the side of righteousness. So you can get mad and hate me and scream at me and call me a transphobe or a bigot all you want. It doesn't matter what you think. What matters is what Elohim thinks. And I have to be on the side of righteousness for that. Don't get me wrong. I think transgender people and anyone who's dealing with sin needs the right treatment and the right treatment plans and so on and so forth. And I wouldn't vote for a candidate who's like, yeah, transgender people need to get locked up, thrown in jail, so on and so forth. No, I want someone who's going to help them get the treatment that they need and stuff like that. Like I said, you can love someone, but don't support the sin they're dealing with, So if those of you who are wondering, oh, but as Christians, we're not right, it's not our choice to control people's lives, maybe you're right, maybe you're not right. But all I can tell you is that as Christians, we always stand up for righteousness. And we are allowed to stand up for a society that lives a righteous, godly life. And if you vote for anything other than a candidate who promotes a righteous, godly life, I think you're doing something wrong. So, this is just what I'm going to come to, okay? You cannot support sin in any way, shape, or form. And that's another reason I don't do the whole pronouns thing with transgenders, is because me encouraging their delusion, encouraging their mental illness, is encouraging them in their sin. As soon as I start playing along with that and giving them the whole pronouns thing, oh no, honey, you're fine. You can go chop off this body part and that body part and go do this and that. That's wrong for me to do as a Christian. And I won't play the pronouns game either, because that's wrong too, because I'm encouraging them in their delusion and telling them, yeah, you're right. You're not a girl, you're a guy. You're not a guy, you're a girl. That's what it comes down to. I truly respect them, and I truly love them. And that's why I want them to get the help they deserve, and I'm not going to play along with the mental illness. Think about it. If you have someone who's dealing with a porn addiction that's brought in their mind, you're not going to encourage them to keep watching porn, are you? If you have someone who's anorexic, you're not going to tell them, you are fat. That voice in your head is correct. Yeah, you're fat. You're obese. You're ugly. You should definitely lose more weight. No, because that's wrong. That's wrong. They're starving themselves. They're killing themselves. Of course you're going to give them the help they need. You don't encourage their delusion. It is no different. But because it hits us in our heart fields, hits us in our strings, it pulls out the things that for our emotion, emotionally do what's right. No. No, no. You do not encourage someone's delusion, their sinful lifestyle, the spirit in their mind that they're dealing with. You do not encourage that. And it's the same thing with transgenderism. You do not encourage a delusion, a sinful delusion for someone who's going against what God has for them. You do not do that. Like, it's as straight as I can put it down for you guys. All I'm going to say is I urge you guys, pray, study, ask Yeshua Messiah, say, have I been too tolerant of sin? Am I being too tolerant of sin? And am I not doing what's right? And if you have a heart that's willing to obey, eyes that are willing to see, and ears that are willing to hear, he will show you. But you have to be willing to obey and listen, because if you're not, he's not going to show you. But no, like I said, I don't hate transgender people. I don't hate porn addict people. I don't hate people who are alcoholics. I don't hate people. I hate the sin they deal with. But because I love them and respect them, I want them to end up in a place that's good for them. I'm not going to encourage them in that sin. And that's why I urge you guys, with how bad society is getting, do not vote for a party that encourages sin, okay? Do not vote for a party that encourages a sinful lifestyle. That's why that's why I tend to vote Republican Party, because they ain't perfect. They have their problems too. They both have their parties, but for the values that I stand for and the Christian Torah following values that I stand for, one party has it more than the other, guys. I ain't gonna lie, So all I'm gonna ask is, please pray fervently. Time's running out. Society's going downhill to hell in a handbasket. Vote for what's right. Support what's right. Support righteousness. Do not tolerate evil in any way, shape, or form, even if that means you lose your friends and family. Because like I said, if you're on the path for righteousness, you're going to lose a lot. The world's not going to like you. Your friends aren't going to like you. Your family's not going to like you. You're going to lose people who are close to you. You're going to lose a lot. You are going to lose a lot. But better for you to lose this life and gain the next life than to gain this life and to lose the next life. And that is my encouragement to you guys. Do what is right. Do not stand up for evil in any way, shape, or form. Vote for what is right, no matter the cost of what it gains you in this life. Thank you. Talk to you guys later.